She suddenly approached Kafka, sniffed him, and remarked, "You smell like a monster." Luckily, Ichikawa was alert. He quickly explained, "We're the monster cleanup crew." Kafka pretended to lift the car back up, effortlessly. Kikoru thought he had special equipment, but her butler quickly parked the car in Kafka's spot. Now Kikoru saw Kafka as a worthy opponent to defeat. Ichikawa then glared at Kafka for transforming his arm in such a dangerous area. Kafka had given up once before, but this was his last chance to stand beside her, so he wasn't quitting. The physical exam began, but the harsh reality hit Kafka like a cold splash of water. He couldn't keep up with the youngsters, even though he trained hard and did heavy work every day. He used to be in the middle ranks, but now he was struggling. Kafka finally understood what aging in your 30s felt like. After the physical exam, Kafka ranked 219th out of 220 candidates. The girl mocked him because she ranked 5th. Kafka didn't know where to hide his face after showing off with such confidence that morning. He asked the girl to forget his name. But Ichikawa was still happy that Kafka didn't use his monster strength. At first, Kafka thought everyone was trying so hard, so he couldn't cheat. But now, Kafka thought that perhaps he should have used his monster strength. In the Team 3 captain's office, Mina saw that Kafka was a candidate this year. There were many promising candidates this year. The top candidate was Izumo, who graduated at the top of his class from Tokyo Monster Extermination University. Second place was Furuhashi. He graduated at the top of his class from Monster Extermination College. Next was Kaguragi, a talented recruit from the military police. He gave up a bright future in the military police to join the defense force. Additionally, there were more candidates from the University and College of Monster Extermination than usual. They were the elite who could become commanders, so it was no wonder Kafka felt inferior. The most formidable one was Kikoru, known as the most talented girl in the program's history. At 16, she had skipped grades and graduated at the top of her class from Monster Extermination University. Kafka had to face the best right from the start. So when he got too close to the girl in amazement, her bodyguards beat him up for touching her. Being humiliated by her a second time made Kafka really angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. Ichikawa reassured Kafka, saying not to worry because 2 years ago, the next part of the test was changed to monster body disposal. Simply killing them wasn't enough to be considered monster extermination. They wanted to reform their approach so they'd test knowledge about monsters and teamwork. That's why Ichikawa took the part-time job at Kafka's workplace. They arrived at the second test site, which was marked by a huge gate. Under the supervision of the deputy captain, Hoshina, Kafka felt confident because body disposal was his specialty. But instead, the gate opened to reveal a horde of giant monsters, and the task was to kill them. One of the monsters roared and charged, terrifying Kafka. But it was quickly stopped by the reinforced iron gate. Once again, Kikoru laughed at Kafka for being a coward. Apparently, the body disposal test was only used in the last 2 years. It had changed this year. The organizers provided special suits for the candidates. Ichikawa felt great wearing it for the first time, as it fit snugly on his body. The suit automatically took measurements and synced with the wearer's physique, making it feel like part of the body and boosting muscle strength. The anti-monster suits of the defense force were made from living monster tissue. Next, the staff measured combat power. Ichikawa's combat power was 8%, Furuhashi's was 14%, Izumo's was 18%, and Kaguragi's was 15%. This percentage indicated how much of the suit's power the wearer could harness, but Kikoru's combat power was exceptionally high. It was 46%, equivalent to a squad leader. Kikoru set a new record in the history of the test candidates. Supervisor Hoshina encouraged candidates with less than 10% power not to worry, because as long as it's not 0%, they would pass. There had never been anyone with 0% combat power in history. Well, now there is. It's Kafka, with a perfect 0. Kafka felt so embarrassed he wanted to disappear. Hoshina laughed out loud, finding Kafka hilarious. Kafka started sweating, anticipating the result even before the test began. But Kikoru thought to herself that Kafka was just hiding his power. She had seen his strength in the parking lot. Now, it was time for the final test to officially begin. The test area simulated a large city with one major monster and 36 smaller ones. These monsters had caused 16 casualties in a recent incident and were captured alive for training. Each person would have a personal drone to monitor their activity. If anyone was in mortal danger, the organizers would remotely activate the suit's shield. But that person would be immediately disqualified. The battle officially began. Everyone spread out, amazed by Kikoru. She was leaping through the air like Spider-Man. Quickly, Kikoru shot down one of the smaller monsters. While everyone else was still getting into position, she had already taken down 2 monsters. On the other hand, Kafka couldn't even lift his gun because his 0% suit provided no muscle support. While he was still flustered, Hoshina announced that Captain Mina would also be judging this test. Hearing that, Kafka became even more determined to succeed. He started to wonder why the judges had to provide everyone with a personal drone. If the criteria were just the number of monsters defeated, they could use sensors to count. This meant they would assess both ability and adaptability. So, people with weak attack power like Kafka and Ichikawa could only do well by supporting those on the front line. Observing the right flank in battle, the two decided to circle around to provide support. The attack team of 3 kept firing, but couldn't inflict any damage on the monster. Kafka approached and realized the deformed hand belonged to a monster he had dissected before. Now Kafka understood why the suit was equipped with stun grenades, so he quickly ran out and threw one. Because this monster had extremely keen hearing to make up for its degenerated vision. Disabling its hearing made it completely helpless. He then told the attack team to shoot at the belly, because it was the weakest point. They followed his advice, firing a barrage and quickly taking down the monster. Izumo praised him, saying that the Kikoru fan did a great job. When did I become her fan? Kafka and Ichikawa kept moving, quickly searching for the next target. Having dissected countless monsters, Kafka was determined to change all the negative opinions about him today. But just as he thought that, a monster grabbed him. It then threw Kafka far away. Kafka's vital signs showed abnormalities, and he lost the ability to fight. As the monster continued its attack, the judges were ready to activate the suit's shield. But he couldn't afford to be eliminated now, so Kafka forced himself to stand, despite the pain. He couldn't let Mina see him in such a pathetic state. The monster opened its mouth to attack him, but Kikoru arrived just in time. With just a few quick shots, she took down the monster. She declared boldly, "No one dies on my watch." Kikoru saved Kafka just seconds before the judges activated his shield. Furuhashi was also attacked from behind without realizing it. Kikoru casually eliminated the monster for him too. Kikoru's combat prowess far surpassed that of the other contestants. Kafka's leg was broken, and he couldn't stand anymore. Hoshina announced that Kafka had several broken bones and even internal injuries. At this point, the only option was to give up. A 0% score meant standing beside Mina was impossible. Only the talented were accepted, not someone as weak as him. However, after a few seconds of thought, Kafka decided to get up again. He would put everything on the line in this fight. The 0% score nudged up to 0.01%. Kafka yelled at the screen, "I will not give up." His entire body trembled due to his broken leg.